So I think music is very important, and the drum being, like you said, grounding is a very important thing. So that's what we're going to do today. We're not just going to jam on the drums. We're going to send vibrations out to the world, and we're going to create a heartbeat, one heartbeat together. We're all one here. We're going to create the heartbeat together. We're going to build the intensity together, get louder together, and as one whole unit. We're not separate here playing an instrument. Even if you're off rhythm, we're still all playing together. We're still making one noise, one vibration.
Doesn't it? Life has its rhythms. We don't stay on one beat very long. We don't stay on one beat very long. There's rhythms in our life. There's ups and downs, there's curves, there's hairpin turns, there's the big long ones, there's the straightaways where we're running down very fast and very smooth. And that's what happens. There are rhythms in life, and to ignore the rhythms in life is to suffer, really, because that's what life is. Life is about rhythms. Today we're celebrating, well, I wanted to read you this about rhythms. This is from the Bible, Ecclesiastes 3, and this is all about those rhythms. It says, "There is an opportune time to do things, a right time for everything on earth. There's a right time for birth and another time for death, a right time to plant and another to reap, a right time to kill and another to heal, a right time to destroy and another to construct, a right time to cry and another to laugh, a right time to lament and another to cheer, a right time to make love and another to abstain, a right time to embrace and another to part. There's a right time to search and another time to count your losses, a right time to hold on and another time to let go. There's a right time to rip out and another to mend, a right time to shut up and another time to speak. There's a right time to love and another to hate, a right time to wage war and another to make peace. But in the end, does it really make a difference what anyone does? I've had a good look at what God has given us to do. Busy work mostly. True, God made everything beautiful in its time and in itself. But He's left us in the dark so that we can never know what God is up to, whether He's coming or going. And I've decided that there's nothing better to do than go ahead and have a good time and get the most out of life that we can. That's it. Eat, drink, and make the most of your job. That's God's gift. What that really says to me is we need to stop trying to control the rhythms of life. The rhythms are the rhythms. There's time for all this in right time. Those of us who question God or try to answer the question why, we are always stymied. Always. Always stymied. Because there's this rhythm. And whatever you believe God to be, we recognize the rhythm in life. And there's another part in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 when it likens it to chasing the wind. When we try to control the rhythms of life, it's as if we're chasing the wind. Who has ever been successful at catching it? Anyone? Yeah. Maybe the trees catch it, but they release it. And that's the message to us. Yes, it's like chasing the wind. And so today we have a special service around Summer Solstice. Summer Solstice was on Friday. And it certainly is one of the rhythms in nature that we might notice. It's part of the solar rhythms of the earth. The solar rhythms of the earth. And It doesn't really start with summer solstice, by the way. It doesn't start with summer. It really starts way back in February with a celebration called Candlemas, which is really a celebration of coming out of the darkness. It's coming out of the darkness. You might remember it like this. Groundhog Day? Punxsutawney Phil? Like, is there going to be more winter or not so much winter? Which one is it, right? Why we let some groundhog decide, I don't know. But I'm from Pennsylvania, so I'll say, I can say Punxsutawney. Maybe some of you can. But that's where it starts in February, this coming out of the darkness. And then what happens is the spring equinox. What equinox means is that at the equator, at the spring equinox, the length of daylight and the length of night is exactly the same at the equator. It's the time when the earth begins to give out its blossoms. It's around Easter time, right? And it's the time when the earth, in the Native American tradition, when they walk around as if the earth is pregnant. She's about to just release all of this amazing glory, all of the flowers, all of the amazing abundance that is hidden during the long winter. She's about to release that. And so they talk about that. We talk about it in our contemporary society about spring fever. You know, we got spring fever. We want to get out and amongst the earth and in that smell of spring, right? We also talk about spring cleaning. We want to get out with the old, out with the musty, out with that darkness and bring in the new. So that's the spring equinox. That's the celebration of the beginning of, or right in the middle of more light, which is where we are today with the summer solstice. Is, you've heard it say, it's the longest day of the year. It's the day when, because our earth is tilted toward the light in the northern hemisphere, we get the most sunlight that we'll ever have compared to any other day of the year. In fact, Renee and I were looking at something somewhere, and it said there are 22 hours of daylight in Alaska on summer solstice. Yeah, 22 hours, because the earth is tilted right toward the sun. It's the time of intensity. It's a time of intensity and beauty and abundance, and that's what we're celebrating today. I'll talk a little bit about it when I talk about the altar. And then what happens from this day forward, days start to get a little shorter. But we're still celebrating because we are in that intensity of light. But the days get a little shorter, and what happens is we come to the autumn equinox. And the autumn equinox, again, at the equator, the length of daylight and the length of darkness is exactly the same. And what are we doing in the fall, in September, at the autumn equinox? We're harvesting. We're doing the last harvest of everything from the earth. We got that abundance and gratitude going on, coming at the autumn equinox. That's what that's about. We are praying and thanksgiving, and we're thinking about, the dark period is coming up. It's coming up by that time. It's starting to come up. And what we then celebrate in the solar cycle is the winter solstice, which is just the opposite of what we are in today, which is the time of darkness, the time when there's the shortest amount of daylight available in the northern hemisphere in January and February. It's a quiet time. It's a time of rejuvenation. We're not out hoeing and gardening and making things grow and looking at the earth's abundance. We're in that kind of hibernation. I think the bears have it right. We're in that hibernation kind of thing. Just like swirling around, seeing what that's about. So that's the solar cycles. I think we have a lot to learn from. So let me talk just a minute or two about the altar here, which has some elements of the summer solstice. We have, of course, the flowers. Okay, the earth is full right now, isn't it? I mean, you go to any fruit stand, all the fruit's out. We have some berries here, strawberries and blueberries. The earth is just putting forth. It's a high intensity. We have a lot of light on the altar. Candles that are orange and yellow to represent that lightness, that intensity of light. And also some water representing the earth. Jill brought her beads that she got from Hebron, Israel, representing the earth and the grounding of the earth. So all these elements are representative of the summer solstice and that celebration today. That's what it is in the physical. But, as you know, we don't just celebrate stuff and then say, well, that's it. It's like, well, what about, how can I use that in my life? What do I use? How do I use that in my life? What's the metaphor of that for me? And I would say it's this. You know what? When we have those peak experiences, when we are just on the pinnacle of our world, when we've just had a baby, when we've accomplished something major, when we got married, when we climbed a mountain, when we went on that bucket list vacation, and we're at the pinnacle experience, to realize that that's one point in the cycle of our lives. And then certainly things will cycle from there. And we will keep going in that cycle. There is not enough energy for us to carry to maintain the intensity of our peak experiences. Think about your life. It doesn't happen that way. We don't stay at the peak forever and ever. A great example of that is when you first fall in love with somebody, or you first, have that relationship, and oh my God, you just have to be together all the time. You're always calling each other. You're so like, whoa! I imagine a mother's like that with a baby. The first time she has to go to work, oh my God, I've got to pull myself away from this. You can't even imagine. But that intensity has to wane in order for us to grow. That intensity has to mellow. We have to have those down times. And those quiet and peaceful times, those times between dark and light. That's how we grow, that's how we then are renourished, so that we have that intensity again. And that's what it represents, I believe, metaphorically in our life.
Said the drums are very grounding and connecting us to nature, and they're sending vibrations out. So that's one thing we're doing. We're sending vibrations out into the world. We hit this. You guys are hearing that? Sending vibrations out. So the more drums, the louder we get, the bigger vibrations. And I'm sure some of you have heard maybe Greenfield Lake Amphitheater when a concert's going on. Probably some of you might be upset about the noise level going on, but other people are having a great time, and it's that's kind of what this is about, celebrating life. And the first instrument ever was a drum. So the very first instrument we used to use, African celebrations and stuff, were these drums right here. So the first rhythm was the heartbeat. So that's something we're going to do today. So the first rhythm, starting with the heartbeat. So a lot of these drum circles, they start with the heartbeat, something simple, and then we build it up. And if we all play together, everyone who plays a drum, it's just like a heartbeat. We're all playing together. We build up and slow down together. And so that's one thing I want to talk about, is the heartbeat starting together, the drum being the first instrument. And then we're kind of going around to where these drums come from. This is the first instrument ever, is a drum. There's all these different types of drums. So certain drums, really, the first drum really came from, it's a very animalistic, tribal instrument. And that's because they're made out of animal skins. They're made out of animal parts. And they were celebrating the animal. They ate it, killed it and ate it. They were excited and happy that they had food, and they were dancing around and excited. They had, nourishment. So that's something a lot of drums are made. This drum is made from an actual animal skin, goat skin, other stuff like that. So a lot of the original drums were made with animal parts. And first drums were to, like I said, celebrate that, or to celebrate nature. So this is something, a rain stick is, it's not just the sound like rain. It's because in the desert we needed rain to come. We needed rain really bad. So they thought maybe if they did this, it sounded like rain, that it would let the skies bring the water down, and we would be nourished with water. So that's something. Maybe they thought that if they had this drum and they played and they used the animal skin, that it would bring them more animals, more food, and more nourishment. So maybe that's the original reason for music is to nourish and everything. So that's something that we're doing here today, nourishing each other and celebrating summer solstice. So pretty much every celebration has music. I mean, there's hardly any event you can go in town and not be music there. So I think music is very important, and the drum being, like you said, grounding is a very important thing. So that's what we're going to do today. We're not just going to jam on the drums. We're going to send vibrations out to the world, and we're going to create a heartbeat, one heartbeat together. We're all one here. We're going to create the heartbeat together. We're going to build the intensity together, get louder together, and as one whole unit. We're not separate here playing an instrument. Even if you're off rhythm, we're still all playing together. We're still making one noise, one vibration together. So I think that's really important and also really cool. It's something we don't really get to do. Not everyone is a musician, not everyone gets to play. So this is a cool way to get to play and join in and have fun. We can trade the instruments. If you have an instrument for a little while and you want to trade off, you can trade off. And the music can keep going. Even if you stop and trade a drum, the beat's going to still be there because we're a group playing together. So they all have a lot of different variations, different sounds. And another thing is where you put your hands on the drums can make the drums sound different, which is cool. You have a lot of different tones. So there's all sorts of different stuff you can do with these drums. This drum is something you can easily see, the animal skin right there. You know, so this was some sort of animal that is more of a Native American drum. A lot of Native American drums were made with animals, animal parts, animal skins. They don't do it as much anymore, but that's kind of how it started. And this is Genna, by the way. And Genna, you have anything to say about any of your drums?
Well, I have two types of frame drums here. This is called a broad range drum. It was made in Pakistan according to the sticker. And it's not skinned. There's two ways you can play this. It comes with a mallet, or you can play it barehanded. Very loud. Frame drums are traditionally used in shamanic practices. And this is just your run-of-the-mill frame drum with a fiber skin. Also, same options. You can use a mallet or just your hand. And they're really powerful when you're in a circle playing with others, and you really can feel the energy move once you slap one of these things into the middle of the circle. This neat little instrument here is called a kalimba. And they are traditionally made out of coconut shells and a piece of wood and flattened nails. Or a thumb piano, is what some people call it. But so many ways for us to make noises as a species. It's very impressive.
Yeah, so you can pretty much use anything. If you don't have a drum and you still want to be involved, you can use your foot. You can use your voice. So there's a beat right there, and I don't even have a drum. So pretty much anything, like I said, the first beat being the heartbeat. Start slowing down together.